The morning bell rang through the hallways of Lincoln High School, but Maya Chen didn't hear it the way everyone else did. She felt it, a dull vibration that traveled through the floor and into her feet, telling her it was time to move to her next class. She adjusted her hearing aids and watched the crowd of students flowing past her like a river around a stone. Maya was 16 years old, with dark hair that she kept pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wasn't trying to stand out, and she definitely wasn't trying to hide either. She just existed in this space between worlds, the hearing world that everyone else lived in, and her own quiet one where sounds came through like whispers underwater. It hadn't always been this way. When Maya was 8 years old, she could hear everything. The sound of rain on the windows, her mother's laughter, the way her father's keys jingled when he came home from work. Then one day she got sick, really sick. The doctor said it was meningitis, and by the time she recovered, most of her hearing was gone. Just like that. One door closed, and she had been trying to find another one ever since. Now, 8 years later, she moved through the school hallways, reading lips and catching fragments of conversations through her hearing aids. People talked to her sometimes, but mostly they talked around her. She had learned to spot the difference. There was pity in some eyes, curiosity in others, and sometimes just nothing. Like she was invisible. Her best friend Jenna was different, though. Jenna had been there before the sickness and stayed after. She learned sign language even though Maya could lip read and speak just fine. She never treated Maya like she was broken or needed fixing. They sat together at lunch, passed notes in class, and Jenna always made sure Maya was included in everything. But there was one place where Maya always felt like an outsider. The music room. It was on the west side of the school with big windows that let in afternoon light. Maya would walk past it every day on her way to art class, and every day she would slow down just a little. Sometimes she would stop completely and watch through the glass as Mr. Rodriguez conducted the choir. She couldn't hear them. Not really. Her hearing aids picked up some of it, but it was muffled and distorted. But she could see them. She watched their faces light up when they hit the right note. She saw the way their bodies moved with the rhythm. She felt the bass notes through the wall when she pressed her hand against it. Music had been her favorite thing before she got sick. Her parents said she used to sing all the time. In the car, in the shower, while doing homework. She had a CD player with all these pop songs that she would play on repeat. After the meningitis, all of that stopped. How could you sing when you couldn't hear yourself? How could you make music when music itself had become something distant and unclear? But the pull never went away. It was like being hungry for something you couldn't name. One Thursday afternoon, Maya stayed after school for a study group. When it ended, she found herself walking toward the music room instead of the exit. The choir was practicing for their spring concert. She could see them through the windows, all standing in rows, holding sheet music. Mr. Rodriguez was a short man with graying hair and glasses that were always sliding down his nose. He moved his hands like he was painting in the air, drawing the music out of his students. Maya had never spoken to him before, but she had always thought he looked kind. She stood outside the door for a long time, just watching. The vibrations came through the floor, telling her when they were singing loud, when they were singing soft. She closed her eyes and tried to imagine what it sounded like, really sounded like, the way she remembered music sounding when she was little. When she opened her eyes again, Mr. Rodriguez was looking right at her through the window. Their eyes met, and for a second Maya thought about running, but she didn't. He smiled and gestured for her to come in. Her heart started pounding as she opened the door. All the choir students turned to look at her. Some of them she recognized from her classes. Most of them had never paid attention to her before. Now they were all staring. "Can I help you?" Mr. Rodriguez asked. He spoke clearly, facing her so she could read his lips. Maya's mouth felt dry. "I was just watching. Do you like music?" It was such a simple question, but it felt enormous. Did she like music? She loved music. She ached for music. But how could she explain that to someone who could hear? "Yes," she said quietly. Mr. Rodriguez nodded. "Well, you're welcome to sit in and listen anytime you want. We practice every Tuesday and Thursday after school. Listen." The word hung in the air between them. Some of the choir students exchanged glances. A girl in the front row whispered something to her neighbor. "Thank you," Maya said, and quickly left before anyone could say anything else. For the next 2 weeks, she came back every Thursday. She sat in the back corner of the room on a plastic chair and watched them practice. She brought her homework and pretended to study, but really she was watching everything. The way they breathed before singing, the way they shaped their mouths for different sounds, the way Mr. Rodriguez counted them in. She started researching at home. She found videos online about singing techniques. She discovered that some deaf people could sing by feeling the vibrations in their chest and throat. She learned about pitch and how it related to the physical sensation of sound. She watched performances by deaf musicians and felt something spark inside her. Maybe, just maybe. The spring talent show announcements went up in the hallways on a Monday morning. Auditions were in 3 weeks. All students welcome. Maya stood in front of the poster for a long time, reading it over and over. Her hands shook slightly as she took out her phone and snapped a picture of it. That Thursday, she stayed after the choir practice ended. All the students filed out, chatting and laughing, barely noticing her in the corner. When the room was empty except for her and Mr. Rodriguez, she stood up and walked toward where he was organizing sheet music. He looked up and smiled. "Maya, right? I'm glad you've been joining us. Are you thinking about joining the choir?" "No," she said, and her voice came out steadier than she expected. "I want to audition for the talent show." Mr. Rodriguez's smile didn't fade, but something changed in his eyes. Concern maybe, or worry. "The talent show? What would you like to do?" Maya took a deep breath. "I want to sing." The words hung in the air between them. Mr. Rodriguez opened his mouth, then closed it. He took off his glasses and cleaned them on his shirt, which Maya had learned people did when they were buying time to think. "Maya," he said carefully, "singing is very difficult, even for people who can hear perfectly. The pitch, the timing, staying in key. It requires being able to hear yourself and the music and—" "I know," Maya said. "I know it's hard. But I want to try." Mr. Rodriguez looked at her for a long moment. She could see him wrestling with what to say. How to be kind but realistic. How to encourage her without setting her up for failure. "Let me think about it," he finally said. "Can we talk more tomorrow?" Maya nodded and left the music room. Her hands were still shaking, but now it wasn't from fear. It was from something else entirely. Something that felt almost like hope. She didn't know it yet, but that conversation would change everything. Not just for her, but for everyone who thought they knew what was possible and what wasn't. The next morning, Maya woke up to 17 notifications on her phone. She rubbed her eyes and squinted at the screen, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Someone had posted about her on the school's social media page. "Did you hear? The deaf girl wants to sing in the talent show, lol." Her stomach dropped. Below the post were dozens of comments. Laughing emojis. Crying laughing emojis. Comments that ranged from confused to cruel. She sat up in bed, her heart pounding, and scrolled through them all. Is this a joke? How is that even possible? This is gonna be a disaster. Can't wait to see this train wreck. Some people tried to be nice, but their comments almost felt worse. That's so brave of her, and I hope she doesn't embarrass herself too much. Like they had already decided she would fail. Like her trying was something to pity rather than respect. Maya's hands trembled as she put her phone face down on her nightstand. She stared at the ceiling and took deep breaths. Part of her wanted to cry. Another part wanted to march into school and prove every single one of them wrong. She didn't know which feeling was stronger. Her mom knocked on the door and poked her head in. "Breakfast is ready, sweetheart." "You okay?" Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. Her mom gave her that look. The one that said she knew something was wrong but wasn't going to push. Maya was grateful for that. At school, the whispers started immediately. Maya had gotten used to people talking about her over the years, but this was different. Before she was invisible. Now she was a spectacle. Groups of students would stop talking when she walked by, then start up again as soon as she passed. Some weren't even subtle about it. They would point and laugh, making exaggerated singing motions with their mouths. In the hallway before second period, 3 girls from the popular crowd were standing by their lockers. Maya recognized them from choir. Ashley, the tall blonde one, was the worst. She saw Maya coming and nudged her friends. "Hey, Maya," Ashley called out loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "I heard you're auditioning for the talent show. That's so inspiring." The way she said inspiring made it sound like the opposite. Her friends giggled behind their hands. Maya kept walking. She had learned a long time ago that responding only made things worse, but she could feel her face burning. She could feel everyone's eyes on her back. Jenna found her at lunch, practically slamming her tray down on the table. "I can't believe these people," she said, her face red with anger. "Have you seen what they're posting? It's disgusting." "I saw," Maya said quietly, picking at her sandwich without eating it. "You should report it. You should tell someone. This is bullying. What are they going to do? Tell people to stop having opinions?" Jenna leaned forward, her voice intense. "Maya, you don't have to do this. If it's going to be like this, you can just not audition. Nobody would blame you." Maya looked up at her best friend, sweet Jenna, who always tried to protect her. "Would you think less of me if I quit?" "What? No." "Of course not. Then why would I think less of myself?" Maya said. She surprised herself with how firm her voice sounded. "I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing it for me." Jenna stared at her for a moment, then a slow smile spread across her face. "Okay then. So what do you need?" What Maya needed was help, and she knew it. That afternoon she went back to the music room. Mr. Rodriguez was there, organizing sheet music like always. When he saw her, his expression became serious. "Maya, I've been thinking about our conversation," he started. "I know what people are saying," Maya interrupted. "I know they think I can't do it. But I'm asking you to give me a chance. Just let me try." Mr. Rodriguez sighed and sat down on the piano bench. He gestured for Maya to sit next to him. "It's not that I don't believe in you. It's that I don't want to see you get hurt. Performing in front of an audience is hard enough when everything is in your favor. And this, Maya, the odds are stacked against you." "I know," she said. "But what if I could do it? What if there's a way?" He studied her face for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. "You really want this, don't you?" "More than anything." "Okay," he said, and Maya's heart leaped. "But we do this the right way. No shortcuts. Real training. And if at any point it's not working, we reassess. Deal?" "Deal." Mr. Rodriguez spent the next hour explaining what she was up against. Singing wasn't just about making noise. It was about pitch, tone, rhythm, breath control. For someone who couldn't hear themselves clearly, every single one of those things became 10 times harder. "But," he said, pulling up something on his laptop, "it's not impossible. I've been doing research. There are techniques, technologies. Other people have done this." He showed her videos of deaf singers and musicians, people who had found ways to feel music instead of just hearing it. Some used visual displays that showed sound waves. Others relied on vibrations and muscle memory. One woman had learned to sing by placing her hand on a piano and matching the vibrations in her throat to the vibrations of the keys. Maya watched every video with growing excitement. This was real. People had actually done this. "We'll need to be creative," Mr. Rodriguez said, "and you'll need to practice more than anyone else. Every single day. Are you ready for that?" "Yes." "Then let's get started." Over the next week, Maya's life became consumed by practice. Mr. Rodriguez stayed after school every day to work with her. They started with basics. Breathing exercises, feeling the vibrations in her chest when she made sound, learning to recognize when she was on pitch by the physical sensation in her throat. He set up a laptop with special software that showed sound frequencies as colored waves. When Maya sang, she could see if she was hitting the right notes. It was like learning a completely new language. Her voice would go up and the waves would climb higher. Her voice would go down and they would sink lower. It was exhausting, frustrating. Some days she wanted to give up. She would go home with a headache from concentrating so hard, her throat raw from trying over and over to hit the right pitch. Her parents watched her with worried eyes but didn't try to stop her. Her dad set up a practice space in the garage with foam padding on the walls. Her mom researched vocal coaches who had experience with hearing-impaired students. At school, things got worse before they got better. The talent show coordinator, Mrs. Patterson, called Maya to her office. She was a middle-aged woman with too much makeup and a fake smile. "Maya, dear," she said in that syrupy voice people used when they were about to say something mean but wanted to sound nice. "I wanted to talk to you about your audition sign-up." "Okay," Maya said carefully. "I just want to make sure you understand what you're signing up for. The talent show is a big event. Parents come. It's recorded. And, well," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "I would hate for you to put yourself in a position where you might be uncomfortable." Maya felt her jaw tighten. "Are you asking me not to audition?" "Oh, no. Of course not. Everyone is welcome. I just want you to think carefully about whether this is really the best choice for you." "It is," Maya said firmly. Mrs. Patterson's smile became strained. "Well, if you're sure, just remember that auditions are very competitive. We have limited spots." Maya left that office feeling angry but also more determined than ever. They didn't think she could do it. None of them did. Even the people trying to be kind were just waiting for her to fail. That night, she created a private video log on her phone. Just her talking to the camera in her bedroom. "Day 7 of practice," she said. "Today, Mr. Rodriguez taught me how to feel the difference between C and D notes. It's subtle, but it's there. A different vibration, a different feeling in my throat. I'm starting to understand how this might actually work." She paused, looking at herself on the screen. "People at school think I'm crazy. Maybe I am, but I'd rather be crazy and try the normal and wonder what if." She ended the recording and went back to her practice exercises. Breathing in for 4 counts. Breathing out for 4 counts. Making sounds and feeling where they resonated in her body. Outside her window, the world was dark and quiet. But inside, Maya was louder than she had ever been. And she was just getting started. The auditions were 2 weeks away. The morning of the auditions arrived cold and gray. Maya barely slept the night before. She had practiced her song so many times that she could feel it in her bones now. Every breath, every note, every pause. But knowing something in practice and doing it in front of people were 2 completely different things. She chose a simple black shirt and jeans. Nothing flashy. She wanted people to focus on her voice, not her clothes. Her mom made her favorite breakfast, pancakes with strawberries, but Maya could only manage a few bites. Her stomach was doing somersaults. "You're going to be amazing," her mom said, squeezing her hand across the table. Her dad nodded. "We're proud of you no matter what happens." Maya appreciated the sentiment, but she knew what "no matter what happens" really meant. They were preparing for her to fail. Everyone was. Even the people who loved her most couldn't quite imagine her succeeding. At school, the energy was electric. Auditions were being held in the main auditorium during the last 2 periods of the day. Students who weren't auditioning would be in regular classes. But Maya knew the gossip would spread fast. By tomorrow, everyone would know how she did. She had 3 classes before the auditions. She couldn't focus on any of them. In history, her teacher called on her twice and she had no idea what the question was. In math, she stared at the same equation for 20 minutes without solving it. Jenna kept texting her encouraging messages, but they just made Maya more nervous. Finally, the announcement came over the PA system. "All students auditioning for the Spring Talent Show, please report to the auditorium." Maya gathered her things slowly. Her hands were shaking. She took a deep breath and headed for the auditorium, clutching the sheet music she had brought for the pianist. When she walked in, the auditorium was already filling up with performers. Dancers stretching in the aisles. Singers doing vocal warm-ups. A guy with a guitar tuning his strings. The talent show judges sat at a long table in the front row. Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Rodriguez, and Ms. Kim, the drama teacher. Maya found a seat in the back and tried to make herself small. She watched other students checking in with Mrs. Patterson, who was holding a clipboard and assigning performance order. Maya's heart sank when she saw where she was on the list, second to last, almost the very end. A guy named Trevor, who was known for his impressions, leaned over to his friend in the row ahead of Maya. "Did you see? They put the deaf girl near the end. Probably so people can leave before the awkward part." His friend snorted with laughter. "Dude, that's harsh." But probably true. Maya pretended she didn't hear them. She focused on her breathing exercises. In for 4 counts. Out for 4 counts. She placed her hand over her heart and felt it pounding against her ribs. The auditions began. One by one, students took the stage. A girl did an elaborate dance routine to a pop song. Twin brothers performed a comedy sketch that had everyone laughing. A quiet boy from Maya's English class played a piano piece so beautiful it gave her goosebumps. After each performance, the judges would make notes and call the next person. Some acts were good. Some were just okay. A few were genuinely terrible. But at least those people could hear themselves mess up. Maya envied them that. Ashley and 2 of her friends performed a group singing number. They harmonized perfectly, their voices blending like they had practiced together forever, which they probably had. When they finished, they got enthusiastic applause. Ashley smiled and waved like she was accepting an award. As she walked off stage, She passed close to where Maya was sitting. "Good luck following that," she whispered, just loud enough for Maya to read her lips. More acts came and went. A juggler, a spoken word poet, someone doing yo-yo tricks. The auditorium slowly emptied as people finished and left. Soon there were only 5 students remaining. Then 4, then 3. Maya was second to last. Right before her was a confident senior named Tyler, who sang while playing acoustic guitar. He was good, really good. The kind of good that made Maya's stomach twist with doubt. When he finished, the judges smiled and nodded approvingly. Then Mrs. Patterson looked at her clipboard and called out, "Maya Chen." The auditorium fell silent. The few remaining students stopped their conversations. Even the judges sat up a little straighter. Maya stood on shaky legs and walked down the aisle toward the stage. Each step felt like it took forever. She could feel everyone's eyes on her. She climbed the stairs to the stage, and the bright lights hit her face. From up here, she couldn't see much beyond the first few rows, but she could feel the weight of everyone's attention. She walked to center stage and handed her sheet music to the pianist, a college student named David who sometimes accompanied the choir. He looked at the music, then at her, then back at the music. He gave her a small nod, but his expression was uncertain. Mr. Rodriguez leaned forward at the judges' table. "Whenever you're ready, Maya." Maya positioned herself center stage. She had practiced this part 100 times in her garage. She knew exactly where to stand so she could see the pianist and the judges while also being able to feel the vibrations from the piano through the stage floor. But now that she was actually here, everything felt different. Wrong. Too bright. Too exposed. She could see Mrs. Patterson's skeptical expression. She could see Ms. Kim trying to hide her concern. In the audience, a few remaining students had their phones out, probably ready to record whatever disaster they thought was about to happen. Maya closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She thought about all those hours in the garage, all the voice lessons with the coach her parents had found, all the afternoons with Mr. Rodriguez, learning to feel the music instead of hearing it, all the nights lying awake, visualizing this exact moment. She opened her eyes and looked at David the pianist. He had his hands positioned over the keys, waiting for her signal. She had explained to him earlier that she would be watching him, using the visual cues of his playing and the vibrations she could feel to stay on track. Maya gave a small nod. David's hands came down on the keys and she felt the opening notes travel through the stage and into her body. She had chosen a song that was both challenging and emotional, a ballad about finding your voice when the world tries to silence you. The irony wasn't lost on her. The introduction played. 4 bars. 8 bars. Then it was time. Maya opened her mouth and sang the first line. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted, shaky with nerves. But it was on pitch. She could feel it in her throat, matching the vibration from the piano. She pushed past the shakiness and sang the second line, stronger this time. In the audience, someone shifted in their seat. Maya kept her eyes moving between the pianist's hands and a spot just above the judges' heads. She couldn't let herself look at their faces. Not yet. She needed to focus. The song built slowly. Her voice grew more confident with each phrase. She had practiced this so many times that her body knew what to do, even when her mind wanted to panic. She hit the high note in the bridge, feeling it resonate in her chest cavity exactly the way Mr. Rodriguez had taught her. Something was happening in the auditorium. She could sense it. The energy had shifted. People had stopped fidgeting. The phones that had been raised to record her failure were now just recording. Maya sang the final verse with everything she had. This was the part she had practiced most, where the lyrics talked about singing your truth even when no one wants to listen. Her voice swelled with emotion, real emotion that came from every moment she had been ignored or pitied or told she couldn't. The final note held. She sustained it, feeling the vibration in her throat, making sure it matched the piano. 4 counts. 5. Then it was over. She let the note fade and stood there, chest heaving, suddenly aware of how quiet the auditorium was. Dead quiet, Nobody was moving. Nobody was clapping. For a horrible moment, Maya thought she had failed, that it had been as bad as everyone expected. Then Mr. Rodriguez stood up. His eyes were red. He was crying. He started clapping, slowly at first, then faster. Ms. Kim joined him, also standing. Then Mrs. Patterson, looking shocked but also moved. Then the students in the audience began to stand, one by one, until everyone was on their feet. The applause rolled over her like a wave. Maya could feel it, more than hear it. The vibrations traveling through the wooden stage, the energy in the room completely transformed. Some people were wiping their eyes. Others were clapping so hard their hands must have hurt. Maya stood there overwhelmed, not quite believing what was happening. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. People were supposed to laugh, or cringe, or feel sorry for her. They weren't supposed to cry, but they were crying, and they were standing. And they were seeing her, really seeing her for the first time. She had done it. She had actually done it. And this was only the audition. Maya walked off the stage in a daze. Her legs felt like rubber and her heart was still racing. The applause continued as she made her way down the stairs, but it felt distant, like it was happening to someone else. She found an empty seat in the back row and sat down heavily, trying to process what had just happened. Jenna appeared out of nowhere and threw her arms around her. Maya could feel her best friend shaking, and when she pulled back, Jenna's face was streaked with tears. "That was incredible," Jenna said, signing the words even as she spoke them. "Maya, you were incredible." Before Maya could respond, other students started approaching, kids who had never spoken to her before. Some wanted to congratulate her. Others just stared like they were seeing her for the first time. A freshman girl asked shyly if she could hug her. Maya nodded, still too overwhelmed to speak much. The last audition finished quickly after Maya's. Nobody paid much attention to it. The poor kid didn't stand a chance following what had just happened. When Mrs. Patterson announced that results would be posted tomorrow, people started filing out of the auditorium. Maya gathered her things slowly, still trying to steady her breathing. Mr. Rodriguez caught her near the exit. His eyes were still red-rimmed. "I knew you could do it," he said, though his voice suggested he maybe hadn't been entirely sure. "But Maya, that was beyond anything I expected. You didn't just sing, you moved people." "I was so nervous I thought I might pass out," Maya admitted. "That's what made it real," he said. "That vulnerability. People felt it." As Maya walked through the hallways toward the exit, she noticed something had shifted. Students weren't looking past her anymore. They were looking at her. Some smiled, some nodded. A couple of girls from her gym class actually said hello. It was strange and overwhelming and a little bit wonderful, but not everyone was happy. The next morning, Maya arrived at school to find the talent show results posted on the main bulletin board. A crowd had already gathered around it. Maya pushed through carefully, trying to see the list. When she finally spotted her name, her heart skipped. She had made it, not just made it. She was in the show. Jenna found her in the crowd and squealed, jumping up and down. "I knew it. I knew you'd make it." But as they walked away from the bulletin board, Maya noticed Ashley and her two friends standing by the lockers. They weren't jumping or celebrating, even though all three of their names were on the list too. They were watching Maya with expressions that were hard to read. Not quite angry, but not friendly either. At lunch, the cafeteria buzzed with talk about the talent show. Who made it, who didn't, who was expected to win? Maya tried to eat her sandwich quietly, but people kept stopping by her table. Most were supportive, but their attention felt heavy, like she had become responsible for something bigger than just singing a song. A guy from her math class sat down across from her without asking. "Hey, I just wanted to say that what you did yesterday was really cool. My little sister is deaf, and I showed her the video someone posted. She was really inspired." "Video?" Maya asked, confused. He pulled out his phone and showed her. Someone had recorded her entire audition and posted it online. It already had thousands of views and hundreds of comments. Maya's stomach flipped as she scrolled through them. "This made me cry. Absolutely. Beautiful. She has more courage than anyone I know. The world needs to see this," but mixed in with the positive comments were other ones. "Still technically not that good. People are only impressed because she's deaf." The pity vote is strong with this one. Maya handed the phone back quickly. I didn't know anyone was recording. Are you kidding? Everyone was recording. You're kind of famous now. Famous wasn't what Maya wanted. She just wanted to sing. But apparently she didn't get to choose how people reacted. Over the next week, things got complicated. The video spread beyond the school. Local news stations started calling, wanting to do stories about the deaf girl who could sing. The school principal asked if Maya would be willing to be featured in the district newsletter. Someone started a social media page called Maya's Journey without asking her permission. Maya felt like she was being pulled in a dozen directions. Everyone wanted a piece of her story. Everyone had an opinion about what it meant. Some people treated her like she was inspiring. Others treated her like she was fragile. A few treated her like she was a fraud who didn't deserve the attention. The worst part was that she still had to perform in the actual talent show. The audition had just been to get in. Now she had to do it again in front of a packed auditorium, with all this pressure and expectation weighing on her. She tried to focus on practice. Mr. Rodriguez scheduled extra rehearsals. They worked on her stage presence, her breathing, the way she connected with the audience. But something had changed. The joy she felt during the audition was harder to find now. Every time she sang, she thought about all the people watching, all the people judging, all the people waiting for her to either inspire them or disappoint them. 3 days before the show, Maya had a breakdown in the music room. She was trying to rehearse, but nothing felt right. Her voice sounded wrong. Her timing was off. She couldn't feel the music the way she had before. Stop, Mr. Rodriguez said gently. Let's take a break. Maya sat down hard on the piano bench. I can't do this. Everyone expects so much now. What if I mess up? What if the audition was just luck? It wasn't luck, Mr. Rodriguez said firmly. You know what the difference is between the audition and now? At the audition, you were singing for yourself. Now you're trying to sing for everyone else. Isn't that what performing is? Singing for other people? No, he said. Performing is sharing something true with other people. But it has to be true for you first. Why did you want to sing in the first place? Maya thought about it. Because music was the one thing I lost when I lost my hearing. And I wanted to prove I could get it back. Not the hearing, but the connection. The feeling. Then sing for that, Mr. Rodriguez said. Not for the people who think you're inspiring. Not for the people who think you'll fail. For that 8-year-old girl who lost something she loved and spent 8 years figuring out how to find it again. That conversation helped, but Maya still felt the pressure. The night before the talent show, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her phone kept buzzing with messages. Encouragement from people she barely knew. A reporter asking for an interview. Jenna sending heart emojis and "you've got this" messages. Maya turned her phone off and sat in the silence. Her silence, the one she had lived with for 8 years. It wasn't scary anymore. It wasn't empty. It was just hers. The day of the talent show arrived sunny and bright. The auditorium filled up early. Not just students, but parents, teachers, people from the community who had heard about the deaf girl who could sing. Every seat was taken. People stood along the back wall. The local news had sent a camera crew. Maya watched from backstage as act after act performed. The twin brothers got huge laughs with their comedy sketch. Ashley's trio sang perfectly, their harmonies tight and polished. A senior did a dramatic monologue that had people on the edge of their seats. Maya was scheduled to go last. It was both a blessing and a curse. More time to be nervous, but also the final act that people would remember. She paced in the wings, doing her breathing exercises, trying to calm her racing heart. She could hear the muffled sounds of the audience through her hearing aids. Applause, laughter, the energy of hundreds of people all focused on the stage. Soon they would all be focused on her. Jenna found her backstage and grabbed both her hands. Remember why you're doing this, she said. Not for them. For you, Maya nodded. Jenna was right. They were all right. This wasn't about proving anything to anyone else anymore. This was about singing because she loved it. Because it made her feel whole. Because she had spent 8 years believing she couldn't. And now she knew she could. The act before her finished to enthusiastic applause. Mrs. Patterson's voice came over the speakers, introducing the final performance. Maya heard her own name and took a deep breath. This was it. She walked onto the stage and the audience erupted in applause before she even reached the microphone. Encouraging applause, supportive applause, but also expectant applause. They wanted a repeat of the audition. They wanted to be moved again. Maya looked out at the sea of faces. She spotted her parents in the third row, her mom already crying. She saw Jenna standing at the side, giving her 2 thumbs up. She saw Mr. Rodriguez in his seat, nodding at her with complete confidence, and she saw all the other faces, strangers and classmates and people who had mocked her, and people who had supported her, all of them waiting, all of them watching. Maya closed her eyes for just a second. She felt the stage beneath her feet. She felt her heartbeat. She felt alive and terrified and ready. She opened her eyes and nodded to the pianist. The music started and Maya began to sing. The opening notes of the piano filled the auditorium. Maya felt them travel through the stage floor and into her body. This was the same song she had sung at the audition, but everything about this moment felt different, bigger, more real. She opened her mouth and sang the first line. Her voice came out clear and strong, stronger than it had been at the audition. All those extra practices, all those hours of doubt and fear had somehow made her better. She wasn't just singing anymore. She was telling a story. The audience was completely silent. Not the uncomfortable silence of people waiting for something to go wrong, but the focused silence of people truly listening. Maya could see it in their faces. They weren't seeing the deaf girl anymore. They were just seeing her. As she moved through the first verse, something amazing happened. The nervousness that had been eating at her all week started to melt away. Her body remembered what to do. Her voice found the right pitch, the right tone. She wasn't thinking about technique or vibrations or hitting the right notes. She was just feeling the music. The song built toward the chorus, and Maya let herself get lost in it. This was the part about refusing to be silenced, about finding your voice even when the world tells you that you don't have one. Every word felt personal. Every note carried 8 years of silence, 8 years of being overlooked, 8 years of people assuming she couldn't. She hit the high note in the bridge perfectly. She felt it resonate in her chest, pure and clear. In the audience, she could see people reaching for tissues. Her mom was openly crying now. Her dad had his arm around her, his own eyes glistening. But Maya wasn't performing for them anymore. She wasn't performing for the judges or the news cameras or the thousands of people who might watch this online later. She was performing for herself. For that 8-year-old girl who woke up in a hospital bed to a world gone quiet. For the teenager who stood outside the music room window afraid to go inside. For every version of herself that had been told you can't. The final verse came, and Maya poured everything she had into it. Her voice swelled with emotion that was real and raw and completely honest. This wasn't about being inspiring or overcoming odds or any of the narratives people wanted to attach to her story. This was about loving something enough to fight for it, about not letting other people's doubt become your own. She held the final note, letting it ring out across the auditorium. 4 counts, 5, 6. Then she let it fade naturally, the way Mr. Rodriguez had taught her. The piano played the last few measures, and then it was over. For a moment, there was absolute silence. Then the auditorium exploded. People didn't just stand up. They leaped to their feet. The applause was so loud that even Maya could hear it clearly through her hearing aids. But more than that, she could feel it. The vibrations traveled through the stage, through the air, through her entire body. It was like being surrounded by thunder. She stood there stunned as the applause went on and on. People were cheering, whistling. Some were crying so hard they could barely clap. The news camera crew was capturing all of it, but Maya barely noticed. She was watching the faces in the crowd transform. Ashley was on her feet, clapping hard, tears streaming down her face. The girl who had whispered good luck following that just days ago was now applauding louder than anyone. Next to her, Trevor, the guy who had joked about people leaving before Maya's performance, had his hands over his mouth, shaking his head in disbelief. Mr. Rodriguez was standing at his seat, not even bothering to hide his tears anymore. He placed his hand over his heart and nodded at Maya. She nodded back, feeling her own tears starting to flow. The applause continued for what felt like forever. Mrs. Patterson finally had to step onto the stage to quiet everyone down so they could continue with the program. But even as Maya walked off stage, people were still clapping, still standing. Backstage, she was immediately surrounded. Jenna crashed into her with a hug so fierce it nearly knocked them both over. Other performers congratulated her. Even the senior who had gone before her, who had every reason to be upset about being overshadowed, shook her hand and said, "That was the most amazing thing I've ever seen." The rest of the talent show continued, but Maya couldn't focus on any of it. She sat backstage, her heart still pounding, trying to process what had just happened. It felt like a dream, like she might wake up any second and find out none of it was real. When the show ended, the judges deliberated for only a few minutes. Then Mrs. Patterson returned to the stage with the results. There were awards for different categories: Best Comedy, Best Dance, Most Original, but everyone knew what the real question was. And the winner of this year's Spring Talent Show, Mrs. Patterson announced, her voice carrying across the auditorium, by unanimous decision, Maya Chen. The auditorium erupted again. Maya walked back onto the stage in a daze as Mrs. Patterson handed her a trophy. It was small and plastic, the kind they probably ordered in bulk online, but to Maya, it might as well have been made of gold. But what happened next was what she would remember forever. As she stood there holding her trophy, students started coming up onto the stage, not to congratulate her, but to stand with her. Jenna first, then other classmates, then people she barely knew. They formed a group around her, all of them applauding her, supporting her. Ashley was one of them. She came up and stood right in front of Maya. For a second, they just looked at each other. Then Ashley mouthed two words very clearly. "I'm sorry." Maya nodded. She understood. Sometimes people don't know what they don't know until someone shows them. The local news ran the story that night. The video went viral again, but this time Maya didn't mind as much. The comments were overwhelmingly positive. People from all over the country, all over the world even, were sharing it. Deaf children watched it with their parents. Music teachers showed it in their classes. It became bigger than Maya had ever imagined. But the best thing happened the next Monday at school. Maya was at her locker when a freshman girl approached her nervously. She was small with glasses, and she kept fidgeting with her hands. "Hi," the girl said quietly. "I'm Rachel. I'm partially deaf. I use hearing aids too." Maya smiled at her. "Hi, Rachel. I saw you perform," Rachel continued, her voice gaining confidence. "And I've always wanted to join the choir, but I was scared. I thought people would make fun of me. But you did it, so I thought maybe I could too." Maya's heart swelled. This was it. This was why it all mattered. Not the trophy or the applause or the viral videos, this. "You absolutely can," Maya said. "Do you want me to introduce you to Mr. Rodriguez?" Rachel's face lit up. "Really, you'd do that?" "Of course. Come on." As they walked toward the music room together, Maya realized something. She had started this journey thinking she needed to prove she could sing despite being deaf. But what she actually proved was something much more important. That the only limits that really matter are the ones we put on ourselves. Over the next few weeks, more students like Rachel found their courage. The music program saw a surge in interest. Mr. Rodriguez started a special class for students with different abilities who wanted to learn music. Maya became a mentor, helping others discover that music wasn't just about hearing. It was about feeling, about passion, about refusing to let anything stop you from doing what you love. At graduation 2 years later, Maya sang the national anthem. Her parents sat in the audience, bursting with pride. Jenna was right there with them, holding up a sign that said, "That's my best friend." Mr. Rodriguez conducted from the side, keeping her on tempo. But the moment Maya would treasure most came after the ceremony. A young deaf girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, approached her with her parents. The girl was shy, hiding behind her mother's leg. "She wanted to meet you," the mother explained. "She saw your video. She's been practicing singing in her room ever since." Maya knelt down to the girl's level. "What's your name?" The girl signed her name. Maya signed back, "It's nice to meet you. Are you going to be a singer?" The girl nodded enthusiastically. "Then you will be," Maya said. "Don't let anyone tell you that you can't, not even yourself." The girl hugged her and Maya felt tears sting her eyes. This was the real victory. Not the talent show, not the trophy, not the viral fame. It was this. Knowing that her courage had given someone else courage too. As Maya walked across the parking lot to her parents' car that day, diploma in hand, she thought about how far she had come. From the girl who stood outside the music room window, too afraid to go inside, to the young woman who had shown others that closed doors were just invitations to find another way in. She had found her voice. And in doing so, she had helped others find theirs too. The world was still quiet for Maya. It probably always would be. But quiet didn't mean silent anymore. It didn't mean less than. It just meant different. And different, Maya had learned, could be pretty amazing.